On defeating Calvinism.
This should be good.
Show God giving people a choice.
Dom, if you can think about somebody's position for 5 seconds and come up with an objection, they've probably already thought of it. We have no issue with God giving people a choice. We believe you must choose Christ. But after the fall, there is a moral fault in all of us that makes us unwilling to choose him. Calvinism is trying to answer the question of why do some people say yes? You believe people have to synergize with the grace presented to them in the gospel. We're trying to answer the question, why do they do that? Is it environmental factors? Is it social factors? Is it they were better at value judgments? Is it intelligence? What is it? And this is the question that synergists can't answer. Because in Dom's worldview, the grace of God enables him to respond, but he must add his energy to it. But God isn't the cause of his willingness to do so. Dom is. The Calvinist answer, in line with all the other Augustinian traditions, is that we are made willing by the grace of God as a gift. But for the synergist worldview, why is it that you choose to synergize with the grace of God and somebody else doesn't? At the end of the day, you're just a better person. For whatever reason, you were willing to make the right choice. And God forbid we say it's because of the grace of God. Otherwise, listen to what this guy has to say about it.
One of the tips on beating Calvinism is showing how their assertion of predestination makes God an absolute tyrant, an unfair tyrant.
People have asked me if I left Protestantism, what church would I join? Stupidity like this is why I would never join the Eastern Orthodox Church. Let's break down what it really is. God created the universe. He created you. He gave you life. He gave you everything you have. And yet you, by virtue of the fall and by virtue of your choices, you are a sinner. By nature and by choice. Every day of your life, you have fallen short of the glory of God. You have broken his law. You have rebelled against him. You have spurned his gifts. You've made a wicked use of them. You have not loved God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. You have not loved your neighbor as yourself. And in spite of this, God sent his only Son to be pierced for your transgressions, to be crushed for your iniquities. And he offers you forgiveness, reconciliation, justification, adoption, all through faith. And yet, because of your own wickedness, you are unwilling to come to him. And in spite of this, God, in his great mercy, has foreknown a people and said, I'm going to overcome their own wickedness by my grace and my kindness. I will take away their heart of stone and give them a heart of flesh. I will put my fear in them so that they won't depart from me. And it's not going to be based on me foreseeing what a good person they're going to be. It's solely going to be a gift for these people. And according to Dom, that makes God a tyrant, an unfair tyrant. Do you not see what a wicked way of thinking this man has? Unfortunately, this isn't just his opinion. The whole Eastern Orthodox Church is bound to his errors in the Confession of Dositheus Decree 3, which condemns unconditional election completely, which hits not only Calvinism, but also any other form of Augustinianism or Thomism. So according to Dom, unless you believe that people are predestined based on their foreseen cooperation with the grace of God like his church teaches, then you think God is an evil tyrant. I guess in Dom's world, Jesus and Paul must have thought God was an evil tyrant, because it's Jesus who said, many are called, but few are chosen. It's Jesus who said, you did not choose me, but I chose you, that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should remain. It's Jesus who said, no one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up at the last day. It's Jesus who said, this is why I told you that no one can come to me unless it is granted him by the Father. It's Paul who said that God saves us and calls us to a holy calling, not because of our works, but because of his own purpose and grace, which he gave us in Christ Jesus before the ages began. It's Paul who, when describing God's choice of Jacob over Esau, he said, though they were not yet born and had done nothing, either good or bad, in order that God's purpose of election might continue, not because of works, but because of him who calls, she was told the older will serve the younger. As it is written, Jacob I have loved, but Esau I have hated. And Paul anticipates Dom's exact objection. What shall we say then? Is there injustice on God's part? Well, according to Dom, there is, because God's a tyrant. But Paul says, by no means. For he said to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. So then it depends not on human will or exertion, but on God who has mercy. Whether God shows you mercy or not doesn't depend on your human will, it depends on God. And then Dom is going to go ahead and make the exact next objection that Paul anticipates in Romans 9.
Like, if we don't have any choice in the matter, not actually, why then does God punish people for not choosing him?
This is verbatim the objection that Paul anticipates in Romans 9:19. You will say to me then, why does he still find fault? Who? Why does God still find fault? For who can resist his will? That's the same objection Dom just raised. If you find yourself making the very objections that Paul sets up for his hypothetical opponents, you're on the wrong side of the issue, Dom. Paul's answer to his hypothetical opponent is, who are you, O man, to answer back to God? It's as if Paul thinks of his opponent like a petulant child talking back to his dad. Now that's his response, his estimation of his hypothetical opponent. But you actually went further than he even anticipated his opponent going. You didn't just call God's goodness into question. You had the audacity to say that God, if unconditional election is true, is an absolute tyrant. Man, all I got for you is one question. Do you even fear God to talk about him like that? There's a lot of things that I could say about my perception of your position. I think that your position makes God out to be contingent on his own creation. I think it destroys classical theism. I think that it absolutely guts God's purposes in election. I think it turns predestination into a matter of works and not grace. But I would never say that if synergism was true, then God was weak. God forbid I ever said something like that. Because it's at least possible that I'm wrong. You lack the humility to admit that. If you didn't, if you had some kind of fear for God, 1, you wouldn't have said something this foolish publicly. 2, you wouldn't have clipped it like you really did something, other than making yourself look like an enemy to the Apostle Paul. The funny thing about this label of apostolic is that Dom can call himself apostolic while having nothing in common between his soteriology and the apostles' soteriology. Because make no mistake, Jesus, Paul, Peter, John, none of them were synergists when it comes to predestination. You've got eyes. Go back and read the scriptures I put up on the screen. If Dom responds, I'm predicting he's not going to respond on the basis of exegesis. He's going to respond by trying to say that I'm presupposing my interpretation and try to turn this into an epistemology debate. I'm presupposing that the people watching this video have eyes, ears, and a brain.